So President Yoon avoided the worst-case scenario, impeachment. Still, his political future remains murky as he is now under investigation for insurrection. We connect with Lawyer Kim Jisu this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So more hurdles appear to be lying ahead for President Yoon Suk Yeol for now. Will President Yoon be able to carry out duties and his roles as the president?
Well, President Yoon Suk Yeol's ability to perform his presidential duties is severely compromised right now due to the ongoing investigation into treason charges related to his recent martial law declaration. Legally, while the sitting president in South Korea is generally immune from prosecution, the immunity and treason does not extend to charges of insurrection or treason. Politically, Yoon's active role as a president is also already paralyzed. His absence from scheduled meetings, including those with senior aides and the prime minister, underscores the functional dormancy of his administration. And this vegetative state of the presidential office is further amplified by the People Power Party, also known as 국민의힘's call for his early resignation, signalizing growing isolation even from his allies. So it is highly unlikely that President Yoon can continue to fulfill his presidential duties in any meaningful capacity.
So it looks like he'll be absent from political scenes for now, but the opposition camp is pushing for another impeachment motion this weekend. But what other cards does the opposition camp have? Any other legal options other than just issuing an impeachment motion every week with no limit?
Well, so there is the filing a motion every week is the best option they can have right now because technically the opposition can just keep issuing impeachment motions since there are no explicit legal limits. However, there is also a principle called 일사부재의 non-repetition rule that imposes a kind of a limit. And under the non-repetition principle, an identical impeachment motion cannot be reintroduced within the same parliamentary session. And this restriction, however, only applies to ongoing sessions, meaning once the session concludes, the motion can legally be submitted again in a new session. So Democratic Party has already announced its plans to reintroduce the impeachment motion after the current regular session ends. And if this motion fails, they intend to convene consecutive short extra sessions to continuously submit impeachment motions. So this tactical approach demonstrates the opposition's resolve to pursue action against President Yoon Suk Yeol through careful use of parliamentary procedures, and it seems to be the best option they can have right now.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a long battle between the opposition camp and also President Yoon Suk Yeol. But what's even more concerning for President Yoon himself is that he is now under investigation for insurrection related to the martial law order last week. The question is, how far will investigations on President Yoon go?
Well, this kind of development is quite unprecedented in South Korean history. So there was a case of prior President Chun Do-hwan, but it was only after he ended his term as presidency. So it is the first time a sitting president is under investigation as a suspect in a case of insurrection and treason. And under the Constitution, such kind of treason is one of the few crimes where a immunity is not applied. So the investigation scope will likely extend to analyzing whether Yoon directly orchestrated actions that disrupted democratic institutions. And with this designation as a suspect, it is increasingly likely that prosecutors will pursue detailed questioning and potentially seeking access to sensitive locations such as presidential residence or offices to gather evidence. And recent cases such as the search of defense ministry definitely suggest that there is a no space is off limit if it is relevant to this kind of investigation.
I see. Then the presidential office is yet to make a comment on this investigation against President Yoon. We haven't heard anything from the top office. What legal options do you think the top office is considering at the moment then?
Well, first of all, the silence from the presidential office reflects a strategic pause. It is clear that they're taking a moment to carefully access their legal and political strategy in this unprecedented situation. And with President Yoon now being a suspect in a treason case, their options are limited by highly significant. So first of all, they'll be focusing on his legal defense, definitely. And while President Yoon has stated that he's going to not avoid legal or political responsibility, his legal team is undoubtedly examining ways to challenge the insurrection charges. And these could include, during the evidence, arguing that the martial law declaration was just a way to prevent national security measures, or he could shift responsibility to advisors like former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun. And given Yoon's background as a former prosecutor general, we can expect a highly technical legal defense. However, with growing calls for Yoon's early resignation, the presidential office may also be weighing a potential exit strategy. An exit strategy in this context refers to a coordinated plan for President Yoon to step down in a way that minimizes legal and political damage while stabilizing the current crisis. And it is difficult to predict with certainty that what kind of legal steps the presidential official might take. But as a critical institution of government, we are hoping that they will act in accordance with the principles of justice and uphold the values of democracy.
Definitely. And last but not least, former Defense Minister Kim, like you mentioned, he was arrested and questioned by prosecutors over the weekend. Now, does he have any legal options to defend himself?
Well, Kim has already been served with a formal arrest warrant, and the investigation will keep focusing on gathering evidence to establish intent, particularly around whether his actions were coordinated with President Yoon as a part of a larger strategy to support dissent. And the recent revelation that Kim has changed his mobile phones prior to his arrest raises serious questions about potential obstruction of justice. And strategically, Kim's defense will likely emphasize that he was just acting under orders to protect national security, which is an attempt to deflect responsibility onto higher authorities. However, this approach is improbable because it could simply implicate President Yoon directly, potentially expanding the political fallout, and will have profound implications for both legal accountability and political alignments in the country. And Kim Yong-hyun's legal journey is intricately tied to President Yoon's investigation for now, and the public should closely follow both cases to understand how justice and democracy are upheld in time of crisis.
Indeed. Thanks so much for connecting with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.